All right, we're rolling. So, Ben, I'm glad to have you on this little podcast that I'm sort of playing around with. I wanted to dive in and tell us a little bit about Omni Sun, the new project. You just released a new song. I figured we'd start there, which I've been listening to the track in my morning routine while I'm journaling, doing stuff. It's just this atmospheric, beautiful thing. But how did that come to be?
Well, so most people know me from Native. And if those for you who don't know, Native is a band that played on Hilton Head for a lot of years, and we still play here and there. We just don't, we don't get together as much as we used to. We're all on different paths. But we still, we're still all homies, and we love each other, and we'd love to play again. But we all have just gone different paths. Like a couple of them, Grayson, Grayson and Davis, they both moved to Charleston, and they're doing great things over there. Grayson's doing phenomenal, man. He's in this band called Keys & Co., and they're about to release some great music. Davis is just killing on the saxophone and everything, but Zach is doing his own thing. We're all on our own paths, but it's like we couldn't be there without Native. It's like Native was this catalyst to bring us to where we need to go with our journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to do like a little recording here and there, but nothing ever really panned out to like what we really wanted to do. So I pretty much just started building my own studio like back in like 2018. And from then on, just like accumulating a synth here and a synth there, and just experimenting with what I have from like, as I kept, attributing or acquiring all kinds of different equipment, I just started experimenting more and more with different sounds and stuff. And I realized, like, I think the only way I can really record what is like from my subconscious is to have this surrounding, like, is to be immersed in this environment all the time. And and I have a lot of songs recorded, that were like Native songs, and I'm gonna get some of those dudes to come back and play on them. And but that's kind of like later on in the game, because that's like really complex. I don't have a drum set, and it's like I'm still in my beginning phases of learning how to produce. It's the most complex thing I've ever tried to do in my life, especially like trying to learn this and synthesizers, but it's addicting and it's infectious.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do it any other way. And all this experimentation has kind of led to Omni Sun. And I'm just like, trying to find the right sounds, trying to figure out what works, building sounds on synthesizers and just using them in something. And, I listen to a lot of ambient music and cinematic music, like movie music, Hans Zimmer, and that stuff really inspires me. And a lot of my favorite bands like Sigur Rós have full albums of just full ambient music, but then they have albums of large, really complex, like chorus, verse, like vocals, the full spectrum albums. But it's kind of a interesting thing to dive in between two different like levels of intensity in like a certain band. So pretty much it's been like a long time. I've had like all these recordings for so long, and I was just like, you know what, I kept trying to like work on them and figure out what was wrong with them. But I really like started to figure out like you have to just not be afraid to just show the world what you have, where you're at. Like, one of my biggest flaws in my creative journey is like really trying too hard to make it too like perfect. And that's just one of those things about selflessness and the creative journey. It's one of those, like, you get balance beam things. You got to just, you're never going to be fully satisfied, I feel like, as an artist, but that's what keeps you going.
And if that wasn't all summed up right there, have a great day, everybody. Ben just summed it up for an artist right there. Yeah, I mean, the setup's looking awesome, man, from what I can see. And so how recent did you decide to go in the direction of Omni Sun? Like, it definitely seems to be like an experimenting process, which I totally get that. We actually sort of share a somewhat similar backstory, not only like locally location from being in a similar area, island vibes, but the band life, and then branching off and doing your own thing and just having the vision really to define yourself of where you want to go.
You know, it's like surfing, you know, but when you have to like catch the, like, it's like, so this is what I feel about music. It's like, it's not really you. Like, your body's doing something your mind doesn't want to do. Your mind doesn't want to go there, but your body takes you there. That's why when you're alone, like when I'm alone up here and I just really just, I'm up here for a while. I haven't been around, you know, I've become really present, you know, just immersed in the music. And, you know, I'll like listen to the song the next day and it's like, don't even really remember doing what exactly like I did last night. It just kind of happens because it's like something's attracting this to come out of me, you know?
Real quick, I mean, I'm sure someone may already know this, but when did you first get into music? Has this been like your whole life sort of thing, or did you just dive into it at a certain time? If there's like a mini story there.
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 9 years old. And, you know, I was always into, my mom and dad always played music around the house. And just, I used to fall asleep to the Beatles every night.
Oh, nice.
Like, you know, I was raised around 70s rock and roll. And, pretty much I played a lot of Guitar Hero, and I just wanted to, music just, you know, I have this vivid memory when I was really young, and I was like probably like 8, and I remember the first time I ever heard Pink Floyd, and my mom's actually playing it, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond played it, and I just remember this incredible like meditative like experience, you know, as just a young like child, you know, just listening to Pink Floyd and not really understanding like what was going on.
Too
you know,
soon.
Just, like,
too soon.
Like, some of that stuff's kind of scary. No, I started picking up guitar when I was like 9, but I moved to Bluffton when I was like 12, and seeing all the local artists around really just inspired me to keep playing guitar more. And I also like came across this group of people that got together and played bluegrass every weekend. And they were like all like old men that wore hats with like feathers in their hair. This dude, his name was Rusty. Like always wore a hat with his feathers in his hair, had this long beard. They all got together, like mandolin player, banjo player, sometimes like a fiddle. And they would just all get together and play. And that was like pretty much how I learned how to like really like, you know, play guitar, like play chord progression, you know. And it was just this raw experience because these people didn't know like how to read music or anything. And they're not getting paid to do it. They're just getting together because they love it. And so by the time I was 14, I had started like singing and playing guitar. And I got my first gig at the Old Town Dispensary. And that was my first gig at 14 years old. And since then I've just been playing around, and I met Zach and Grayson and Davis and Nate, and we just made Native when I was
The
like
rest is history.
Yeah, and then we jammed on the island for a long time.
Yeah. So, dude, who inspires you nowadays? Like, as far as people you're looking up to now, or like what kind of people you're following or listening to, whether it be an artist or influencer, mentor.
Oh man,
So many.
man, so many.
Any recent faves?
Well, there's one in particular that is just like, he has just inspired me so much since I started listening to him. That's Kevin Parker. Just his whole creative journey and everything, and how I just resonate with his creative ability. Like he does the whole, he becomes alone. Like he does it by himself, and he lets it, like the wave, take over, and that becomes Tame Impala. And he's never happy with it either. He keeps on going. I feel like also brought a whole new genre to music and just inspired a whole generation of artists. And to do that, that's another form of selflessness in the creative journey, because it's fearless. You have to do something. You don't have to do something different, but like, if you do, like, it's like, you just have to be fearless in whatever resonates with you, despite it being not against the grain or with the grain. You have to be as authentic as you can be.
Yeah. I'm curious what you think about this. Just this morning, I was thinking about this analogy or a metaphor. I'm not sure which one it is, but maybe you'll know. I think of the universe sometimes like everyone is their own puzzle piece and has unique gifts and skills to offer. And we're all connected because the puzzle creates this picture. But individually, we all have our own unique set of abilities and have a role to play, or there's just certain grooves that you can fit into, like based off your personality type, what you're actually motivated by, who you vibe with, what area or city you live in, or town, or what, all those combinations create this unique puzzle piece that makes you and me. And the thing that I love about that, I remind myself sometimes of that when I start comparing myself. It's like, yeah, I could rip apart the puzzle piece and try to decipher the universe in all of its mysterious, wild ways. Or I can just remember, like, wait a second, like, I'm a unique little point of consciousness right here. And that's unique. Like, only I have this thing to offer. Whatever the heck's coming out of my mouth and my creativity, like, that's only me. And like, your music is only you. And the next person too, which that sometimes helps me get out of a funk, because I'll start comparing when I'm like working on a mix or a song, and I'm like, oh, does it sound like this? And it's like, it doesn't matter what it sounds like it sounds like me.
Dude, it's my, like, one of my biggest things is I would just go and listen to other music and go back and listen to my music. Like, what about the levels and those sounds? And I was like, wait a second, like, that's not what it's about. And doing that is why I've waited so long to just put something out,
So like, for me, I want to ideally make the songs and tracks that I want to listen to. Now, I'm still in that early phase of finding my sound and my flow, where I'll want to like tap into inspirations pretty directly. Like, oh, I want to really channel this snare by Tame Impala, like go after something. But it's like when I start tinkering with it too much, then I lose myself. The original thing, like, oh wait, I was listening to this and I was driving around in my car, and now it's like sounding more general instead of like the unique thing it originally wanted to be. And that's like a fun game to keep in check, I think, as a creative. Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about creating, it's like you can't like try to figure out where it's going to go. You have to look back and see where it's going and be able to like ride that wave. But like if you're trying to put these sounds somewhere that they're not already, it becomes this hard thing, because sound is like water. Sounds like you can't just form it. You have to like, if you want to get water from the mountain into a certain spot, you have to dig it through this little area, you know, and the water will flow there. So like you can harness these sounds and harness this melody and groove and these lyrics and like what is resonating. And, you know, if you really allow it, it will become what it needs to be. Like the song is already there, you know?
Yeah, for me, it feels like I'm uncovering, like bit by bit, almost like I'm digging a hole. Yeah. And it's like, okay, here's the next step. And I just try not to get too ahead of the next step.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of describing it. It's like, what you're always going to be, you have always been. That's why the whole thing is just like, no matter what, you are good enough. And that's not to be confused with being stagnant and content, but you are good enough. And that being fulfilled in your self, you know, love and self-respect will enable you to move forward. Because if you get lost in this, you know, hole of the feeling like, I'm not good enough to go to a jiu-jitsu class.
I was just about to ask you. I saw you posted a picture about that today. So was that a long time coming? It was your first class or something like
that? Yeah, it was my first class today. And it was amazing because the guy I sparred with today, he was teaching me. He was a purple belt, and he has been a purple belt for 4 years. And my first class, I got to see him get elevated to a brown belt. It was pretty magical for like a first time. So I don't know. Jiu-jitsu is like, martial arts is definitely one of those, like I never, like a month ago, I would never imagine myself do it, but it's one of those things that just like popped into my intuition one day. You know, as I was like, you know, I watched the George St. Pierre and Joe Rogan podcast, and I just fell in love with George St. Pierre. I was like, wow. I related my creative journey to his martial arts journey.
I haven't seen that episode, but it's good. Joe Rogan, of course.
Oh, he's the man. Yeah, of course, like Joe Rogan's also, you know, kind of got me thinking about it too.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to like think about this. I'm just going to do it. I know what's in my gut is I want to do it. And my first thought was like, you can't do that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Like, You're going to try that? And it's like, screw that, man. Who cares?
We're all going to die. Might as well.
Exactly. Like, do I want to die? Like, I don't want to die with regrets.
Well, now you won't. Like, you go to bed tonight, hopefully, and you're like, fuck, yeah, I just did some jiu-jitsu today. That's pretty cool. And like, what's the next thing, right? Like, sign up for another class if you feel called to go back to it.
Yeah. I'm going back tomorrow.
No way. Nice.
Yeah. Fun, man. It's fun. Like, this dude just threw me all the way over his body. I landed on my back, and
you're like, wow, I just got whooped.
Brain on my face. I was like, wow, it's humiliating.
Yeah. I've only gone to one class myself, actually, like an introductory class. And I haven't been back since. And there's this really cool, I'm in Charleston right now, and there's this really dope martial arts, like really old school. It looks like it's from the 80s. Like all the coloring is faded. So it's like all crayon colored and stuff. And it looks like it could be just this amazing movie shot of like this old light blue carpet that's 80 years old. And you're like, what is this place? Like, I bet there's some guru in the back that no one knows his name. And as things reopen, I'd love to check that out. I made a pit stop there a couple months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you probably really enjoy it, and they're probably really great people over there. I mean, everybody at the Ju Jitsu class was just super kind and friendly. You know, it's like they call it murder yoga. It's the gentle martial art. Like you can completely dominate a fight without hurting somebody. But you don't have to really hurt them. You know, you can just control them.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who really brought like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to everybody's, awareness was like a really small, like 5'4" dude from Brazil. And he could pretty much take down any person of any size, like momentum and body weight, and it's cerebral, it's like technique, and that's why it's so interesting, because it's a thing of awareness,
right? Because you're not there to die, you're just there to maneuver. It's almost the most real life action video game without a ton of pain, even though it's exactly. Like close.
Yeah. And my friends Zach, Zach Stevens, he's always been into like martial arts and stuff, but he's always just watched UFC and stuff, and really got me into it. And I was like, I'm going to take a class and do it. And it feels good to live like that,
Yeah, like that momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Momentum. Like so back to Omni Sun. So speaking of momentum,
please, let's build it.
That's one of those things, and that's like another reason I wanted to release music. I was like, well, what do I have that I can release now so I can put something out there and make it real and build momentum? And so this mantra kept like resonating in my soul and my mind. Just keep in motion. So like, I wanted to get these ambient songs, and I'm gonna call it motion. And then, I don't know. This is one of those things, like, I never know what's gonna happen and how creatively I'm gonna evolve by this time. But like, I like making concept, like multiple albums. Like that's how I foresee my creative journey going. Like having all these albums kind of connect together and it's be symbolic of like a creative spiritual journey.
Right.
So like this first ambient album would be called Motion, and it's like a glimpse of what's to come and what I have in me creatively. It's like a glimpse, but it's what I can do now, because what's in me, it's all there. Like I have so much music inside, like so much that I want to do, man. But it's just being able to get it from in here to out here,
right,
to the making it real and professional. Learning everything you have to know in audio production and stuff. And
yeah, I'm in a similar place right now. Like I'm getting over this hump of production in motion, like all the things you're talking about. I'm prioritizing motion. Yes, quality, but still I want to build this momentum where, just like signing up for jiu-jitsu class or signing up for something or doing a podcast like this, just like something to keep the wheel flowing in a good way. Like this book I got from Deepok Chopra, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. One of the laws he talks about is the law of giving and receiving, which everything. And he just related that to blood flow and the circulation of life, money, energy. All of it is always in constant motion. So to like hoard anything, creative works, or to hoard money or hoard energy, like all that is just going to stagnate, and you're not growing. Tony Robbins says you're either growing or you're dying.
Love Tony Robbins, one of my biggest inspirations. I like that.
No way. Yeah, he's like an OG remote fatherly figure. Going through college, I was like, you know what? Morning routine vibes, like all this, the mindset, like I've learned so much from him along the way.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like life is always beginning. And you have to be following those beginnings. Like ends, like are just a beginning. Like there is no such thing as an end. When a flower dies, it wilts and becomes and decomposes and becomes everything it always was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And like life is just manifesting change, and it's this it's like cosmic river that's just moving along, and there's no stopping it whatsoever, because there's no such thing as like stopping. Life is blooming.
But vacation, bro. What about the vacations? What about saving up for vacation in 5 years?
Yeah, I'm just gonna work all year. So I can go to this vacation and just get blistered.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have the power of now sitting here. One of my favorite books to reference by Eckhart Tolle. And man, that one really brings me back to center anytime I forget. Just, it's all now. And it's all the cliches. It's all now.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, this book helps me remind myself to get in tune with my body, like my current inner body awareness of right now. As heady as I like to be sometimes, like imagining and processing ideas and having fun, like conversations like this, I know it's important for me to like, okay, wait a second, slow it down, be right here in your body, like in the room, presence.
Yes. Be here now. And I like how you said, yes, it is the cliches, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people like who are like on a spiritual journey get caught up with, trying to figure it out too hard. Like, it is simple. It's the simplest. It's something you've always had. No, it's just simple. It's just here now with fearlessness. Just exhaling, just
This is life.
acceptance, end of denial, path
Right.
of least.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop resisting it, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah. That's the word. One of my favorite statements.
Yeah, I get so heated in an excitement, passionate way when like talking to friends or my partner or my parents or whoever it is, and there's this resistance to not accept what's going on. And there's a lot to come to terms with in our current times. I don't know when or if this will conversation will air, but like in May 2020, there's a lot happening. Wait, we're not in May. Sorry, wait, what? I don't even know. We're in July. Time has stopped.
Time is what is May? What is July? What is that? The place where we are in reference to the sun? We're in 2020, and it's weird, but
it is a strange time. There's a rebuilding for sure happening, a dissolving. I love Ralph Smart on YouTube. I don't know if you've watched any of his videos. He drops all kinds of videos every single day on some of the things we're talking about. But yeah, it's just like when I'm talking to people nearby me, I just always come back to it is what it is. Like I can either accept this or not accept this.
Yep.
The simple cliche of like, it's a rainy day. Like, okay, it is what it is. You decide what that means to you. Is that a good thing or bad thing? I think it's just no comment. Take a look.
Yeah. Like, sit down and look around.
Less talking.
What did Timothy O'Leary say? Like, sit down, shut up, drop out, or something like that.
Who is it that says it?
Timothy O'Leary. He was like friends with Ram Dass and stuff, professor at Harvard that was kind of involved in making of and stuff and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ram Dass. He's one of those like Terrence McKenna, like philosophers.
Yeah, love Terrence.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for people like Terrence.
Thank God for people who aren't afraid to say what they feel inside, because the people that really change history get ridiculed. Like if you look at Galileo,
Mm-hmm.
or even Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
Tesla could have changed the world.
Right.
It would be so much further than we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff there with Tesla. I've watched a few videos on some of just the wild inventions in terms of energy, like getting into quantum and tapping into unlimited energetic resources, and how I think it was like JP Morgan. I could be off on some of these names, but I just remember it resonating with me so hard of like, oh wait, you can't sell this if it's unlimited. Like you have a car in 1915 that's can run on its own. Like, oh, like we're not ready for that yet. Like we want to pump the meter because that's like an easy linear way to charge
Control.
people. Yeah, slow down the flow a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's probably a whole nother thing. And I don't know enough to, I know that something's going on there and I don't know enough to say what it is.
Right. Like I know enough to have like a full-blown conversation with like someone late at night, just me and them, just saying whatever I think. There's a lot of ways that can go. And I've definitely gone down the whole conspiracy, ancient civilization, free energy thing.
I mean, pyramids, right? Like I haven't done my research on pyramids, but like I want to. Like, do you know anything about how
I have gone. So like, so this one of my favorite scholars, his name is Graham Hancock. I don't know if you know Graham Hancock. Been on Joe Rogan.
Yes, I did listen to one of his episodes.
He has blown my mind about the information that is just out there about, the cosmic alignment of the pyramids is so unbelievably precise.
Right, like the coordinations, the cut of it.
Mm-hmm. And there's these currents that go around the Earth, and there's places where they intersect, and like it's a really resonant place of energy. And the pyramids of Giza are in a perfect spot of intersection between a lot of those currents. Same thing as in Mexico with the Mayans.
Mm.
They're right on that energy current. And same thing with Machu Picchu in Peru. And everywhere you go, look, these ancient civilizations, there's evidence of like tools being used that we don't even know how to, we don't even know what tools they use to achieve these things. Like these huge stones have these little circular drill holes like all the way through them, and it's perfectly smooth all the way through. There's no like friction remnants, it's just perfectly smooth, and you still can't fit a piece of paper in between the stones that make the pyramid. And Graham Hancock says the pyramids are a lot older than modern academia says. He says there was this ancient civilization that thrived and was super advanced in a different way that we're advanced. And this is Graham Hancock's theory. And he says that, these were super spiritual beings that had super knowledge of frequency, just like Nikola Tesla, and understood the universe in terms of frequency and vibration. Because when you boil everything down to it, everything is vibration. And that is one of the reasons I named my music project Omni Sun, because like this is all just one omnipresent light, and as I speak to you, it's like I'm speaking to another three-dimensional projection of me. And it's this reflection, and everywhere you look, you are that. And so going back to Graham Hancock, he says like they were able to manipulate vibration and frequency in terms that can like move these big stones and He also points out the fact that at every other Egyptian like tomb or temple or anything, any other structures, it's covered in art and hieroglyphs and all these colorful things and just information everywhere. And inside the pyramids there is nothing on the walls, and there's all these chambers that you can't like get to. They're just there. And
so what does he make of that, or what do you make of that? Like, I'm following you on the colors and like the direction of, I mean, this is, who knows? Who really knows? But yeah, what do you think?
Right, exactly. Who knows? These are theories. These are theories. I love believing them because it makes a lot of sense to me personally. And I'll talk to tons of people and they totally disagree, and that's totally fine. But Graham Hancock says that the time period where the pyramids were thriving, like the Egyptians were thriving in this like ancient time, the Nile River was pretty much next to Cairo and like where the pyramids are, and it was all green and lush. And there's around the Sphinx there is rain erosion, and that was one of the things identified by Robert Schoch when he went there, and he was like, this is obvious rain erosion from a long time ago surrounding like the perimeter of the Sphinx, because the Sphinx is like in this area where it's dipped down into earth, and there's like a 6-foot wall surrounding it, and you have to go down into it, and the Sphinx is in the middle of it, and around that wall there is rain erosion all around it. So they say that's evidence that the Sphinx was built at the time where Cairo and where the pyramids were really lush and green, which is a long time ago. And they have evidence of that being so, like geographically, but not necessarily the pyramids being there. So water, is this powerful element on Earth. So that Graham Hancock and a lot of these, avant-garde historians and archaeologists that really test modern academia say that it used to like take in some of these, have these channels that has these underground channels that took water from the Nile into the pyramids, and it would resonate and be these huge resonant chambers. So if you toured inside the pyramids, you have to talk like this because of the echo. Because the echo is so powerful that you can't even talk fast because it just gets overwhelmed with echo. So these are these perfectly designed resonance chambers that are perfectly cosmically aligned in a universe where everything is frequency and vibration. So if you think about that.
Some intelligence. I haven't done my homework there, and I'm fascinated.
It's just one of those things where you gotta, it either like grabs a hold of you and you go down that rabbit hole, or
right.
So in Machu Picchu, there are like a lot of these stone structures that look like the stones have been liquefied and put into place and solidified. Like that's what it looks like, it looks like that. And that's just a density of atoms. It's just a density of atoms.
We can work that stuff. We can use the Force. Like I remember telling a friend one time, Star Wars isn't that far off from where we're at now. And they're like, no, it's not. That could never happen. It's like, that's like pretty soon, dude. Like we're closer than you think.
Dude, they just, with Elon Musk and everything, and they have spacecrafts that can go out into space and then come back and land. And that's just the first step, man.
Uh-huh.
If there's this book I love called The Autobiography of the Yogi, by Paramahansa Yogananda, and he speaks of all these sages that can do all these like metaphysical things that are kind of like the Force, like they could he was like walking away from a sage, and the sage was like pulling him back with intention, pretty much. That's a wonderful book. I recommend that book. It's a wonderful
I haven't
story.
read it. I've heard it. I'll have to check it out. And dude, speaking of intention, I love thinking about intention, and I like to set more intentions. And the power of intention, super interesting. Like thinking about the pace at which, how fast human intentions manifest just in general, current, present time, 2020. Like the analogy I thought of one time was like we take showers, right? And like with our intention, we choose to make hot or cold. And we're like, okay, we do this, and within 7 seconds, you kind of get to your desirable temperature. With, you know, your intention, you have a goal in mind, and you do these actions, and then boom, it manifests. And that's one simple invention or way we've increased that speed of manifestation of getting that intention, boom, done. Now, what I found funny is I feel like so many people complicate that process, and they're always just turning the knob. So like do, and they're like, it's hot, it's cold, it's this, it's that, I'm confused, it's like, it's not, I'm not manifesting, like all this confusion. It's like, wait, like stick to one frequency for a second and see what happens. The analogy, there's this channel on YouTube run by Aaron Abke who deals out all kinds of like spiritual texts and videos. I love his channel. He talks about how to describe it to people. If you're playing in C major for an hour, and for all of a sudden someone starts playing in D major or a different key, it's going to sound funky for like 15 seconds, particularly if you're in a stadium. Like it's going to be like something's off. But if you stuck to it for a minute and you just started playing in D major, and everyone, the orchestra, everyone gets involved, it's like, yo, we're in D major now. C major is the past. Like there's just that weird transition moment if you stick through it and stick it out in D major.
Yep. And you know, you have to allow the energy to like saturate when you're shifting in life. You know, you have to give yourself like a break and allow that uncomfortable transformation to happen, because you can't be afraid of being uncomfortable. But you have to give yourself that grace and being uncomfortable. Just like it, you know, going through the motions and letting. It's like when you're suffering and feel like you're drowning in a river, and it's like you just have to. If you relax, the river will just take you, and you just float to the top. And you can look at the clouds. And when it comes to like transition in life, like transitioning from C major to D major, you know, it's gonna feel weird, you know, because we're creatures of habit and creatures of conditioning, and our environment conditions us. So we like to cling on to those environments, you know, because it gives us a sense of identity. But like, you have to live fearlessly, to live authentically. Because what you are is not C major or D major. You're the whole musical spectrum.
Right. There's this other guy I follow, Feel Good. He's just dropping spiritual flow. You know Feel Good?
It's a wonderful name. I was like, Feel Good. That's like the best name ever.
Right. Feel Good. Right. I feel like that had to have been like, he set himself up with the brand and his name of like Feel Good. Anyways, I thought the same thing. Oh wait, I forget what I was gonna mention with him. That's okay. He's a really cool dude.
Yeah.
Feel Good.
There's a lot of people that make me feel good on.
Yeah. Feel Good. Man.
I'm always looking for more people to listen to on YouTube. I mean, it's like, I just kind of always, a lot of times I always go back to Joe Rogan. He's definitely the one I listen to the most, just because, like, I don't know, he just covers everything. He's just like, interviews everybody. You know?
Right.
But,
he's such an interesting character that you can listen and connect and find this commonality with so many different types of people.
Yeah.
I remember him, or someone, God knows where I would have seen it, some comment, I'm sure, suggesting Joe Rogan for a presidential debate to be a moderator.
I saw that too.
It's like he'd be well qualified for that role.
Absolutely. I mean, he interviews people from both the Democratic and Republican Party, and he's just like, whatever is best. There shouldn't be. I don't want to get into politics or anything, but like, I like his perspective of it. It's very comfortable and it's transient to like to everybody.
Yeah, he's such a good listener, and but ask questions. Like, he's just a curious person, and then not judging too quickly is so right. Crucial. And I'm so glad that I feel like innately I haven't had to work hard for that. Like I tend to be pretty open-minded, where I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt way more than I feel like maybe the average person is in the spectrum of like, oh, like there's probably reasons for this, and this. And it's easy for me to spell those all out. And I love how someone like Joe Rogan can empathize on that level, but still like be firm and challenge in a way where, and that's the thing I think you maybe were touching on with being uncomfortable and like still speaking your truth and being honest and sharing your points of view. Yeah. Like uncomfortable, fearlessness, like when you're speaking your truth, Ralph Smart says, speak your truth even if your voice shakes. And his voice doesn't even shake. He's been doing it for 1,500 episodes.
1,500 episodes, dude. Can you imagine? Like, and every single one of them just has brilliant people on podcasts.
He's on a different level. Like, how much? It's like no one has time to watch or have that experience that he's had. Like, he's lived that and like is experienced all of that, and yet we like catch a glimpse of it through YouTube. Yeah. And it's still amazing. Like, I still get so much from it. And it's like, wow, like he's literally like in the room day in and day out, learning from all kinds of people and experiencing it. And we just like might catch 1.01% of it. It's like, wow, that's gnarly.
And he's like attracted that his whole life. And that's why he is where he is. That's why he's doing what he's doing, because, that is his soul's journey. He's fulfilling his personal legend. And that journey of his to, have all this collective genius come and, like I have learned so much just from watching, anybody. I went to Ju Jitsu class pretty much because of Joe Rogan and my friend's love for the UFC.
And isn't that great? Yeah. Like the fact that you can watch, or anyone can, well, not anyone, but a lot of humans have access to the internet and can watch that and get that perspective. Like if I'm only living in this room here in Charleston, the odds of me coming across any of the people we've mentioned today are very unlikely.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be having this conversation either.
Thanks, Zoom.
Like, thank you, Zoom. But we live in the age of information and the age of connection, and and the internet and cell phones and social media and all this, technological advancement is like a power, and every power has different ends of the spectrum. It can be used for enlightenment and used for the greater good, and it's also used for the dark web and
exploitation, manipulation, horrible things that people still do to each other.
Horrible things.
Yep. And thank God so much of it's being exposed.
Thank God.
There's just too many eyes. There's too many.
Yeah, we're starting to wake
forces.
Up. Yeah, I mean, like we all have this right here. We all have it, and I can connect to somebody across the world and send them information, and it's a really crazy thing. And we don't even think about it. If you step back, like we live in this weird science fiction world, like we live in Black Mirror.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's
I
so
want to
much
write a
about,
good episode.
yeah.
Make it a good one, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I started watching a documentary on Netflix it's about Michael Jordan. And I haven't really watched much of his career back or just learned about his legacy. And it's like of all the choices that we have to expose ourselves to on the internet, like I did binge watch Stranger Things in the last few months. That's been a lovely, like, visceral experience to go through that, like, sort of dark night of the soul in this cinematic adventure. And at the same time, to like one channel over, one vibration over, you can be learning from Michael Jordan's work ethic and legacy and this inspiration, uplifting vibration. It's like, they're both have their part, and like, which one do you want to live in the most?
Right. It's like every moment is a decision, and decisions are like stepping stones to where you're going in life.
Mm.
Every time you make a decision that is like make your decisions based on, like, pretend you are your role model and decide on that.
That's so good.
Forget Ben Hughey. Who's Ben Hughey? Be the best person you think could. What is the best thing, like, you think could happen in this situation if you weren't Ben and you were just, the best representation of that situation?
Mm-hmm. Yo, I have a question. What do you think is something that you are, I'm trying to think how to ask this. It's like a self-reflection sort of question. Like, what do you think your best service is? Or like when you're in your flow, like, is it performing? Is it recording? Is it your ideas? Is it your being? Like, do you think there's a specific thing that you feel like you're best at serving? Like, is that something you've thought about, or anything come to mind with some of those thoughts?
That's an interesting question. Like,
I
what
can
is my
preface that with, like, I've been really thinking about that for myself, like how I best serve, how, like,
that's a thing to be aware of. It's a good
right.
thing to.
Like Gary V, very popular. I'm not sure if you've come across him, right? So, like,
Wow.
he loves the Jets and he wishes he was 6'5" so he could be the quarterback for the Jets, but he's not 6'5" and has the self-awareness to be like, well, here are some of my interests. Unfortunately, I won't be the best or even be able to do that because my unique puzzle piece of who I am doesn't fit that need. So I guess I've been pointing that camera at myself of, like, what is the need of the people around me, and, like, how can I marry that with my interests? And podcast has come up. It's a bit unknown for me. I like it. I'm learning, but it might also help somebody else. I love music and recording. Like, and there's, like, I'm kind of hovering around a few things and I'm trying to figure that out, like how I best serve to be helpful and still make myself happy.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. There was a long time where I feel like I was really confused about that. And I tried to force servitude in a lot of situations.
Mm.
And it just becomes this thing that it just becomes this weird thing when you try to, like, force servitude in certain situations, putting yourself in as making yourself a role that the universe isn't necessarily calling you to. So lately it's been like, what is my personal legend? What is my servitude? Like, what is calling me? And if there's one thing, that calls me more than anything, it's the music. But I think the music represents something that is a greater whole, and it's just like living to fulfill what you're sent here to fulfill, and if you can do that and inspire other people to do that, that would be how I want to die. If I can live knowing that's how I served, I will die peacefully. And there's never an end point, you know. Like, I served the best then. Like, you have to just keep going and keep that momentum going.
Mm-hmm. With the music in mind there, like my guess, I'm curious what it is for you. It's not easy to cultivate all these skills and put in that time. Yes, there's this deep fulfillment involved for pursuing that, but like feeling that calling requires you to get better and put in the physical, like implementing this inspiration into the physical level of just sheer work and repetitions, and like that dedication / commitment is necessary. And so, and creeps into uncomfortable where people are like, oh, no, not for me. And I like thinking about sports, like recently watching this documentary. It's like, I love sports growing up, and the mindset on a sport, really across a lot of different sports, really great. Like, work hard, do your best, put the team first, and like know your role, like all these great things that it's funny how I forget to implement that sometimes into my own creative journey too, where it's like, oh, do another take. Like, let's go. Like, I don't have to have it perfect right now. Like, your jump shot or whatever it is going to take more than just a summer. It's going to take years. Like, you'll always be working on it.
It's like, it's this whole like future that you see ahead, and it's super overwhelming when you like, you know, step back and look at it, and you're like, how is that even possible? How is that even possible? But one step at a time, one take at a time, you know, one just, you know, it's kind of like one thing that's I've been trying to, you know, implement in my life recently is like rhythm, you know, staying on track. Coming up here every single day and working up here, even if I don't want to, even if I just feel super overwhelmed and I'm looking at the tracks, I have no idea what to do. You know, if you absolutely can't record, go play the piano, you know, like do something, make something new, even if you're never going to use it, but be up here and resonate with it. Because if this is what you want to do, and it's not always going to be fun, but you know, the creative journey is not just an easygoing journey. You know, it's like climbing a mountain, you know, and the only way to get to the top is keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to the top, and it's like there you just see this mountain range ahead of you, and it's like, oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, what's worse, from what little I experience I have of life, seems to be stopping the motion that we're talking about. Like, the feeling and the cost of being stagnant is infinitely worse than pushing through.
Yes, regret is the worst pain ever. Like, regret is
you
torture.
feel that on yourself. Like, I know when I'm not pushing and when I'm like in that full flow and motion, like when I'm in that, you're alive, you're in the unknown, you're going to a Ju Jitsu class, like you feel good. Yeah. There's that momentum, and you're like, this is tight. And when you're not in that, like only you know, and that's unfortunate because I think so many people live with like, oh snap, like I'm not in that flow, and no one knows. Like, I could just kind of coast and stick with this job, and maybe in 8 months I'll look at another. Like, there's just boom, that big disconnect.
Mm-hmm. And you know, there's always going to be that force in your mind telling you to slow down, because just like I was talking about with music, like your soul is doing something your mind doesn't want to do, because your mind wants control and safety, you know, and moving and being in motion and getting out of your comfort zone requires, you know, jumping out of an airplane. You know, your mind doesn't want to do it, but your soul wants to do it. Is this going to be the most phenomenal jump of your life as soon as you stop resisting?
Jump. Yo, I'm not sure if the mic would allow for it, but did you have in mind, did you want to share anything music right now? Or maybe I could point just people to it later if this makes it to the web?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could just plug up my guitar here really quick.
Nice. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to pause the recording for a sec. I actually got to go pee. Sweet. And we are back. Ben, where are we going on a quick little journey?
This is just a wonderful song. I think it's perfectly written by Saint Vincent. He's a wonderful singer, a wonderful artist, wonderful songwriter. This song just really resonates with me, and decided to give it a go.
Oh,
Nice.
Dave, sounds great.
All right. I know you're probably sleeping. I got this thing I've been thinking. Yeah, I admit I've been drinking. The void is back and I'm blinking. Cannot stop the airplane from crashing. And we circled down from the sky. So hang on me, hang on me, hang on me. You and me, we're not meant for this world. You and me, we're not meant for this world. You and me, we're not meant for this world. And I know you hate my hysterics. I promise this time it's different. I won't cry wolf in the kitchen. Oh, please just don't hang up the phone. Cannot stop the taxi cab from crashing. And only lovers will survive. So hang on me, hang on me, hang on me. Oh, you and me, we're not meant for this world. You and me, we're not meant for this world. You and me, we're not meant for this world. Whoa.
Wow. Bro, that song's beautiful.
Yeah, she's amazing. Saint Vincent is just a wonderful artist. Definitely check her out if you haven't listened to her.
I need to listen to her more, only a couple times, but thank you for sharing that, man.
Thank you.
I love the power in your voice. It does not go unnoticed in a really awesome way.
You know, man, like singing is just one of those things. It's like it feels so good. You know, it's like just this thing that comes over you and cleanses you of all like I'm going in there with like a sage stick or something and just cleansing all the negative energy in me because it's so powerful. You know, music is so transcendental.
Bro, well, I feel like I want to wrap up the convo. Maybe there's something else. If there's anything else you'd want to share as a parting gift, maybe to your future self, if you look back on this video in a year or 5 years or even like a day, and is there any reminders you want to give yourself, like keeping in the flow?
Yeah, like if I'm speaking to my future self right now, I really, really hope you're in another place, because if you aren't, I know you haven't been in motion. And that will be disconnected from my intention right here, right now. So I hope to see myself as my role model right now.
Man, I love it. Ben, this has been such a great convo. I've so enjoyed seeing a glimpse into your world, which I can't believe I haven't chatted with you really much at all yet till now. So thanks for jamming.
Thank you. Like, I'm so happy to connect with you. You know, I've always, I'll talk to y'all a little bit, and I'm happy to really resonate and connect and finally get to talk.
I feel like we'll have some links to share with each other as we go. But if anyone is watching this in the future at some point or in the now, because if it's always in the now, I hope you're well, and we hope to see you again sometime soon. All right. Over and out.